What's up everyone, you're watching the Moto G8 Plus disassembly. Alright, first you're going to want to remove your SIM tray. Go ahead and heat the back up with a hair dryer or a heat gun so you can loosen up any adhesive underneath it, which will make it easier for you to pry the back off. And then use your plastic pry tool to pry along the edges of the back plate. Now lift up one side of the back plate, but don't remove it completely because there's still a cable for the fingerprint reader on the back that's still attached to the main board, so you don't want to tear that cable. You have 13 Phillips screws on the top you need to remove so you can remove that plastic cover and gain access to the cable to disconnect it. Once you remove the 13 Phillips screws, lift up this cover right here. There's a small latch over here, which you can stick a tool underneath it and lift up the plastic cover. And just work your way around, prying it off. Now one thing I found interesting is they actually have a thermal pad over here, right underneath that small board where the flash is. So this way if you have the flash on for long periods of time, I guess this will help keep it cool and not overheat. Alright, now the next thing you want to disconnect before disconnecting anything else on the phone is the battery, and the cable is located right here. Just pop it up and disconnect it. Now we're going to go ahead and disconnect the fingerprint reader cable over here. Now there are two wire cables over here in the corner. We have to disconnect those as well. You have 3 more flex cables, one here, one over here, and one on the top corner. You have to disconnect those as well. This one with the protective tape over it is going to be the one for the screen. There's a black colored Phillips screw over here holding the board down. Go ahead and remove that. Now at this point we're going to lift up and remove the main board. Now here's the back side of the board, and I'm sure a lot of you would be happy to see the fact that they use some thermal paste, which makes contact with the frame of the phone to keep it cool. Also, which looks like to be a copper vapor chamber. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like it to me, as you can see the bubbles underneath it from where some of those moisture pockets are. It's a very thin tape looking one. Now removing the shields off the back of the board reveals 2 more thermal pads. There's a small one right here and the larger one which sits on top of the Qualcomm processor. Here's a closer look at those chips. And here's a closer look at the other side of the board. So you got your cameras over here. If you want to remove these two, just pop them off the board right there. As well as the one that's over here. This is connected on the back of the board. Pop off that cable right there. And the front facing one, you just have to remove this tape over here, the protective tape, and disconnect off the board. Now also to note, it looks like you have another thin vapor chamber underneath the action cam. The cables for the volume and the power switch, as well as the proximity sensor cable over here. They ran through the mid frame and to the front of the phone, so if you have to ever replace those, you'd actually have to pry off the screen to gain access to those. And again, typical of most of the Motorola phones, there's no easy pull tabs to remove the battery. So you'd actually have to use pry tools and pry the battery off, which makes it much more difficult to replace. Next, we're going to remove the plastic cover over here that houses the speaker assembly as well on the bottom. There's 8 Phillips screws holding that down. Go ahead and remove those screws. Now once those screws are removed, you can go ahead and pry this off. Here's a closer look at the speaker assembly. So the charger port is replaceable, that's good. It's on a small main board over here, and it's held down with one Phillips screw. You're gonna have to remove that screw, disconnect this cable, and the two wire cables over here, so you can remove that. So here's a closer look at the charger port board. Got a rubber gasket around the charger port as well. Here's your microphone that you speak into on the bottom of the phone. So you're left with the mid frame, the battery, the vibrator motor over here, the top of your speaker, and the screen that's attached on the front. And if you want to replace the screen, pry the battery first off from the mid frame, and then you're going to heat the front up so you can loosen up the adhesive around the frame. Then you're going to pry the screen off, and you're going to run this cable through the slit of the mid frame, and then you're going to take the new screen, run the cable back through, apply it with new adhesive, and just reverse the whole process and reassemble the phone. Alright, let's go ahead and start putting it back together. Now if you need to, apply some new adhesive on the back side of the phone. Put your back plate back over, press down firmly, and then flip the phone over, power it on, and you're done. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.